Alright guys, it's Morgan coming to you with another instructional video here at Highland Cycles. Today we are going to be adjusting the valves on an XR650R. Yes, this is my bike that I just rode on the rim rocker and the white rim, and we're going to adjust the valves. So join me as we dig into this thing. Let's start this video with the style of valve train we have here. It is an overhead cam, but it's a single cam that rides in the middle of the head, and then the lobes push on rockers that actually open and close the valves. And those rockers have just a screw and lock nut adjustment, so unlike modern four-strokes that have shims that you have to measure things and then trade shims out and measure it again and make sure everything's good, these are actually really, really simple. And that's good because it's a simple motor. Everything about the XR650R is really simple, and that's why I like it. The carburetor is really, really simple. Pretty much everything about it is just as simple as it gets, other than the fact it's water cooled. That's about the most complicated part of the entire thing. So what we're going to do is start actually, I'm going to clean this thing off because see how dirty it is right there? That's from me riding it over there and getting a bunch of stuff. So I'm going to clean that off first before I start working on it. And then we're going to start taking the valve covers off. Take a look at that. There's the plug. Pretty dark, definitely burning some oil. That's not nearly as bad as I thought it would be, but when you're adjusting valves, you want to get the plug out of the way. It makes the motor easier to turn over as you're trying to get the thing to the right part of the stroke to check the valve. So plug's out of the way. Also, if you're going to do a valve adjustment, you might as well put a new plug in the bike anyway. So now we need 8mm wrench to get this intake valve cover off. Alright, so we got the intake valve cover off. Take a look in here and you can see this is the rocker. It's just one piece. It's hard to tell, but if you look up in here, you can see it's joined. So this is a cool way to do a simple cam, overhead cam. You just need one lobe pushing on this to open two valves. So let's get this thing to the right part of the stroke. I'm going to rotate the kickstart over and we're going to go real slow. So here's the thing about checking valves. If you want to check both the intakes and the exhaust at the same time without having to move the motor, it is beneficial to put the thing at top dead center compression. It's probably necessary if you want to do both of them at the same time, or both sides, intake and exhaust. But if you're just checking them and you're going to do one, intake and then you're going to do exhaust, you really don't need to do that. You just need to get to the base circle of the cam, which is the part of the cam that isn't pushing on the valve, right? Or trying to open a valve. So what we just did, we rotated it, we watched the valves come up, so the valves came up and the rockers came up. So now all we needed to go is just a little bit past that and we should be on the base circle of the cam before it comes back around and starts to open it again. So now they're up and we're just going to rotate the motor a little bit more. There we go. So now the motor is rotated past and there's no play. So that's a good and bad thing. It's bad, that means they're out of adjustment. The good thing is that they're out of adjustment, and that's probably why it was soft to kick and maybe part of why it's burning oil. I don't know why XR650s tend to burn oil when the valves get out of adjustment, but they do. Also, like I said, this top end is tired. It's got I don't know how many, countless tens of thousands of miles on it, and so I probably need to do a top end anyway, and I will this winter when I have a little time. But for now, we're just gonna get these adjusted and see if it quits burning oil. All right, so you need a 10mm wrench to come in here and loosen these lock nuts. So we're just gonna go easy. That one's loose. Now we're gonna loosen this one. Now, we got our feeler gauges. And I know that XRs are supposed to be between like 4 and 6 thousandths on the intake and 6 and 8 thousandths on the exhaust. At least that's what I like to set them at. So I get my feeler gauges that are those numbers, and we're gonna back those screws out until I can get one in there, and then we'll tighten them back down. Now this information is for you guys who don't know that much about motors. The reason that the intakes and exhausts have different clearances is not because the valves are all that different. I mean, they're different size and things like that. It has to do with heat. So you want a smaller clearance on the intakes because the intakes stay nice and cool, because there's always relatively cold air and fuel coming in from the air box and through the carburetor into the motor, keeping those cool. So obviously they heat up, but they don't heat up as much as the exhaust. So you need a little bit less lash or clearance on the intakes. The exhaust, they get a lot hotter because that's where all the hot exhaust is going out and stuff like that. So you need a little more clearance so that it doesn't go to zero when it all gets hot. So that's why it's a bigger clearance on the exhaust than it is on the intakes. So now we got these loosened till they're loose, like, so there's not any pressure on it. And I'm gonna get my 6 thousandths feeler gauge, and I'm gonna come in. I have to come from the other side so I can get this flat out of there. Come in here. So it moves pretty easy right now. What I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna tighten the screw till it touches, and then come back just a tiny bit. And you don't want to be pushing down with your screwdriver, otherwise you're getting a false reading. And when you drag it back and forth, you want to just feel just a little bit of drag as you come back and forth. Now, I like where that is. I'm going to take screwdriver, come through, so we can hold that right where it stays. And you know, we're going to check it again afterwards, so as long as it's close right now. Okay, that's tight. I'm going to check after we tighten everything down. Okay, good. We got good feel there. Now we're going to do this other side. Come in here, tighten this down again until it touches. Back it off just a fuzz. That feels good. Screwdriver through. Now, come back in and check this one. Okay, that's good, good drag. Now we come back and check this other one again. Feels good, okay? Because you just, since you did both, you want to come back and check again, make sure you're good. So now those are good, and they were definitely tight. So, alright, so there's our exhaust valves. Gonna rotate the motor like we did before. Let them go down. And come back up. Now these are a little bit different because there's the auto decompression to deal with over here on the cam. And so you got to make sure you don't adjust it when the auto decompression is holding it open. So you come a little bit up. That should actually be pretty good because you can watch it. See, if you saw it right there, it went down just a little bit again. That's the auto decompression. So you come back. Ooh, there. See, it moved up. Up. There we go. So now we're just a fuzz past that. So we should be good. All right. So now I'm going to do the 8 thousandths. Slide this in just like the intakes. It's kind of hard to. All right. So that one goes. I like that one. Sorry for the camera work. Actually, that one goes. All right. And that's really common for the exhaust valves to be fine and the intakes to not be. Maybe some of you guys can comment below as to why that is. I don't know if it's because that raw air, or it's not raw, it's filtered. It better be filtered air coming in from the carburetor does have some impurities and causes the valves to wear out faster or what, but they generally do. We got the valves adjusted. That was super easy. I hope that makes sense to you. But I'm going to put a new spark plug in it. These take a BKR7E-11, and just so you guys know, the -11 is the gap. It's a bigger gap than a normal BKR7E, so I think it's like 32 thousandths or something like that. It's pretty big. But as always, I like to put a little bit of anti-seize on the threads of these. Someone commented before on one of the videos that there's like some sort of compound on the threads of these that help keep that, you know, these from seizing in the head. And there probably is, but you know, it never hurts to have a little bit of anti-seize on there to make sure that you're, you know, good to go. Also, quick little note. This washer on here, you see it's kind of a thick thing. It's a crush washer. If you ever pull a spark plug out and that's not crushed, it wasn't tight enough and you're probably losing some compression through there. So you want to tighten it down until you feel it stop and then go, you know, like another quarter to a half a turn. You know, tighten that thing down, make sure that crushes and seals up really good. There we go. Vice cap. Alright guys, time to start it, see how it starts, and then I'm going to check the oil level after I get it started, add the right amount in, because like I said, I know it's low, and then after the next ride we'll check it and see how it does. Oh, I can tell you right now, that is way stiffer than before. That's good. So that started good. 2 kicks, no choke, after sitting 2 days really. So I'm happy with that. Sounds good, as always. Also, I'm really hoping I get a little bit more consistent idle out of it, with the compression being up. Now, it was kind of like up and down and not that great. So, anyway, check everything, make sure it's all good. There you go. Hope that was informative, guys. Hope you liked that video. Hope that helps you if you've got an XR650R or actually any bike with screw and lock nut style valve. So all the XR 400, 250s, all that stuff, even the old RFS KTMs, they're the same thing, exactly the same way to do it. So hope that helps. Yeah, hope you guys get out and spread the gospel with 2 wheels. And you know that I desperately hope that what we're doing here at Highland Cycles is inspiring you guys to work on and get out and ride your dirt bikes.